Hello YouTube, this is Steve Patton with General Patton Bushcraft, back with you with another super exciting video. Today's video is the recap of Season 10, Episode 3, titled Growing Pains. Stay tuned. Okay friends, you know every episode of Alone they start with a quote from a famous person, and this quote for Season 10, Episode 3 is from John Muir. Quote, "Going to the mountains is going home." All right, friends, the show starts with day 10 at 6:22 a.m. and we get to see Mikey. Remember, Mikey's super sick, friends, but about 10:30 in the morning, he gets out of his shelter. He said his back's a little stiff, but he's feeling much better. Also, it's Mikey's birthday, so he decides to carry his bow and go out and forage. And friends, he finds blueberries. Now friends, moose grazing on willow, birch, and aspen in the fall and winter. That's what moose are grazing on. So he's out there foraging, and he finds some blueberries. And friends, he finds a grouse, takes a shot, misses. Now his hands are real shaky, friends, drawing that bow back, but he takes another shot and he nails that grouse. So good on Mikey. He hits it. He loses one arrow, but he gains one grouse. All right, friends, day 11, 11:06 in the morning, and the show moves over to Alan, 51 years old, from British Columbia, Canada. He's making a tripod out of some large logs, friends. He's only been eating fungus and berries. No fish for 6 days so far. Alan just set up some snares, then works on his shelter. He's building a nice tripod teepee, friends, and it looks beautiful. Logs. He puts some spruce boughs, then covers it with moss. He's got a little exit hole at the top to let the smoke out. It's a real nice shelter that he builds. And he goes and checks his snare lines, friends, and he catches that pine marten. Oh my goodness. And they can't keep martens. It's against the regulations, friends. So he takes off his jacket, puts it on the marten, cuts the snare wire, and frees that marten. He's lucky he didn't get bit, friends. So Alan, he's feeling real bad. He goes and he pulls all of his snares. He takes all of his snares and he says he's gonna wait for the snow, friends, until it starts snowing. All right, friends, day 11, 5:22 at night, back to Mikey. Decides to make an arrow to replace the one that he lost. So we see him working on a piece of alder. It's real straight, looks pretty nice. Mikey does a lot of talking about his son and autism, friends. All right, day 13 now, 9:07 a.m., and the show goes back over to Cade. Cade's the one that lost all 9 arrows. He decides to stay in the game, friends. He's fighting hard. He finds a nice big wasp nest, and he decides to keep that thing for starting fires. I bet it'd be real good to take a spark from a ferro rod. I bet it'll work good. All right, friends, he decides to start making arrows to replace those arrows that he lost. And he starts working on some nice pine saplings. And he makes a pretty nice arrow, friends. So he puts a log up in the tree about the right distance to where a grouse might be for some target practice. And it's working great. He nails the log, friends. So that arrow he built's working great. All right, day 14 now, 10:17 in the morning, and the show goes over to Ann. She's doing some laundry, and she tells us someone told her that those long johns won't stink, but hers are stinking, so she's doing some laundry. Her strategy is to procure food, so she's tracking a grouse. She shoots at a grouse, and she nails it back to the shelter to clean and eat. She eats that grouse, and wow, it tastes so good. Now Ann, while she's cooking up that grouse, she hears this moaning and grunting. she sees a giant moose swimming across the lake. Now, moose can swim for 2 hours straight, about 12 miles, friends. Phenomenal what the moose can do. This moose gets out of the lake, and it's 6 foot up, about 6 foot to the shoulder, and it weighs over 1,400 pounds. Ann tells us that the grouse tastes like a lot like duck and chicken. All right, friends, day 15 now, 8:30 in the morning, back over to Lee. Lee is that slender man, Lee DeWild. He doesn't have a lot of fat on him, and he's building a real big, heavy-duty log cabin, friends. He's wasting a lot of calories building this log cabin. We see him make a birch and berry soup, and that's all he's been eating. He's not doing too good on the fishing. About 1 cup of this soup is about 80 calories. Kind of bitter, he tells us. He made it out of birch bark, cranberries, lingom berries, and blueberries. He goes down to check the net, the gill net, nothing. He tries a little bit of fishing, and nothing, friends. He's not doing too good. Day 16 now, 8:19 in the morning, back over to Cade. Cade's making more arrows. He's sitting in his shelter making arrows, and he hears something outside. It's a grouse. He stalks it, shoots, and he nails that grouse with that homemade arrow. So good on Cade. He's back in the game, friends. We see him make a nice fire pit. So then he goes down to the lake to get a drink. He's drinking straight out of the lake, friends. No boiling the water for Cade. But on the way back to the shelter, bad luck for Cade. Cade darn near catches the whole forest on fire. That fire pit that he built got out of hand, so he has to spend the whole day carrying water in that bucket that he found. He found a nice bucket, but he had to carry about 100 gallons of water to put that forest fire out that he started with that fire pit. So we see him build another fire pit closer to the lake. So Cade's doing okay, but he's got some bad luck mixed in there. All right, day 16, 3:59, the show goes back to Alan. He shows us a tour of his lake front cottage. It's extremely nice, friends. Tries to fish. Fishing's not been going good for him, but all of a sudden he catches a 5-pound lake trout. So good on Alan. That's about 330 grams of protein, so good on Alan. Now, back over to Luke. He's fishing on day 17. It's about 9:41 in the morning. He's catching fish, hand over fist, friends. He's caught 11 fish up to this point. And we see him take apart those custom gaiters that he had made. 2 big square pieces of clear plastic. We see him making berry cakes. He's drying out berry cakes between those 2 sheets of plastic that he had on his custom gaiters. He's drying those berry cakes out in the sun. So Luke is doing extremely good. He's looking very strong. Like I said, 11 fish in 17 days. So he's super fed. He's doing so good, he decides to build a second shelter in a different location, more inland, out of the wind. Friend, we see him. He's got a nice long handle on that shovel that he brought. He digs down in the earth, and he's making an urban type shelter, basically a bear den, he says. And that bear den is very strong. Big log timber. He digs down in the ground, and that second shelter looks very good. Luke's looking very strong, friends. Leave me a comment below. Let me know who you think's gonna win this thing. All right, episode 3 moves on to day 17, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we see Lee, he built that very nice log cabin. It's super cool, super sturdy, and super stout. But friends, he's only fishing once a day, Next morning he wakes up about 7:30. He knows he's got to get some fish, friends. He's running on fumes and he wasted a lot of calories building that cabin. Nothing in this gill net. He can't catch anything with his fishing pole. And oh wow, Lead to Wild taps out. Ugh, no food. Very emotional for Lead to Wild. He's not a big man and he's 59 years old, very slender, friends, and he taps out. All right, friends, day 19, about 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 people remain. And the show goes back over to Ann. She goes on the hunt. She's going to try to call in a moose. Not feeling good. So she tries her call. She can't amplify it, you know, very loud, very far. You know, moose got those big old antlers, friends, that act like a parabolic shield that amplify the sound, but she's not feeling good. She's very sick. No energy, extremely dizzy, elevated heart rate, friends. So man, she sits down. Oh man, not doing good, extremely dizzy. She head back to the shelter. And friends, we see Ann call in, she taps out. She's the second person to tap out, friends. And that's where the show ends. Season 10, episode 3, titled Growing Pains. And friends, the show is down to 8 people now. That's where this episode ends. And that's where my recap ends, friends. I need you guys to consider subscribing. Hit that bell icon, and in that drop-down menu, do select all, friends. Give the video a like. Share the video. Help me out, friends. And as always, God is good. God is great. I'll see y'all on the next video. It's already got a date.